Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about workplace inclusion. I'd like to get straight into it because I want to get as much of your experiences and wisdom out of you in the short space of time that we have. So, as the CEO of Washwood Heath Multi-Academy Trust, why did you decide to focus on creating a more inclusive culture within your organisation?
I think, first of all, the priority of what we want to achieve for the young people. And secondly, because we had a bit of a shock within the trust that sort of shook it a little bit to its foundations. And so I came into my present position in an acting capacity in that state of play. So we had a time to review what did we want to achieve with the young people, and how do we want to support one another to achieve it. And so those twin strands, I think, meant that we wanted to create a sense of belonging in the trust again, which is absolutely essential. So with that in mind, we then did a massive piece of work to consult with colleagues around what it was we wanted to achieve as a trust, to create that sense of excitement again about being part of a multi-academy trust and all the potential that brings to schools. A very clear message came through that preparing young people for the future in modern Britain was a key part of that. And so we're very much driven by preparing young citizens who are ready to go out into diverse communities, be successful, be contributing, be articulate. And so we've done a lot of work with an organisation called Voice 21, who do a lot around oracy education, and with UNICEF Rights Respecting Schools Award. To underpin that, though, obviously we've got to have the teachers and all the staff feeling that they belong. They are in a position to deliver that for the young people. So it's about obviously preparing our staff to help the young people, and clearly that's what education services for, but also to make sure that that culture we were wanting to impart to the children was actually the reality for people in schools. So the two became entwined and became central to what we're going to do. So we led a project around EDI, identifying issues, doing soundings with staff and students, and then particularly with the staff, working in those focus groups to develop some priorities, and then developing a governance structure and a leadership structure to develop how that actually would play out in reality.
So our state of workplace culture research last year showed that 71% of business leaders see the value of workplace culture change, but they don't know how or where to get started. When you are a large organisation with employees dispersed, like yours, for example, across 7 different schools, I believe.
That's correct, yeah.
Where do you even start with building up that inclusion and belonging?
Okay, so I think the first one is to be very clear about what it is as an organisation you want to achieve in the whole, so that the whole culture issue becomes part and parcel of what it is you are achieving. And so therefore, what we want to achieve for the young people as an educational organisation became tightly what we wanted to achieve for our colleagues, for our staff body. The only way to know where you're at is to actually talk to people and to invest the time in having conversations which give people the safe space to talk about what it's really like at the time they're starting and how they actually felt and feel. So I think those are the first 2 things I do, is have a system for real consultation, but also have really clear ideas of what you want to achieve as an organisation. Now, we asked people what they felt we should do, and the message that came back made it easy for us to tie workplace culture as a key part of what it was we wanted to achieve as an organisation. That is what needs to happen. It can't be a bolt-on, it can't be an add-on, it can't be if we've got time. It has to be at the heart. Now, I think with education, perhaps, some may argue it's easier to see how that feeds through into what we want to achieve for the young people. But investing in consultation and in listening to what people have to say, and being really clear on your organisational objectives, and making sure that the culture is part and parcel and centerpiece of that and not a bolt-on, would be my 2 bits of advice.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that it can't be a bolt-on. I think that's a mistake where a lot of organisations, they kind of have some sort of DEI initiative on the sideline and it's not having an impact, and they don't know why, and it's because it's not part of the organisation-wide strategy. So yeah, thanks for that. And also cultivating a genuinely inclusive organisation is, I'm sure you would agree, probably quite a slow and arduous process. There aren't really any quick wins there. Could you share any moments where you felt things weren't quite working or you weren't turning the dial quickly enough?
I don't think it was a question of pace necessarily. I think it is the patience to know that as you explore issues, if you are having real conversations, then those conversations will reveal things you may not want to have. Maybe not in the main body of staff, but if you're creating that safe space, then colleagues will question and challenge appropriately, and they did, direction of travel, focus on this. So I don't think we ever lost focus because it was part and parcel of what we were wanting to deliver for the young people. Therefore, it was seen as central to our aims and objectives. We didn't lose pace particularly, but it's then, of course, as you actually discuss it properly, there are issues that perhaps you weren't expecting. If I give 2 examples, one, I think it's really important that as it happened, the 2 people leading on this did not actually have, you could argue, a protected characteristic, if you like. And so we were really clear about how we were going to bring different voices into the process. And the fact that those people were not there to tell other people how to do it. They were facilitating a series of activities in which other voices would come through. So, for example, on race, we actually looked at issues of race within sport and had sports people talking about their experiences of race, talking about why they thought historically some of those issues had existed in that culture. So they were genuine voices of genuine experiences that we were then able to reflect on in our organisation. The other one is actually a positive, negative in a sense, the fact that people were prepared and felt in a safe space say things that perhaps weren't in the textbooks. I'll give an example. I think around the protected characteristics, some colleagues did need the opportunity to talk through how they would respond. For example, if there was a transgender member of staff and in a parental meeting, a parent wasn't happy about that. And they were reassured by the answers, but very much our approach has been to be upfront in those conversations in the organisation and to be very clear with the community where we stand as rights respecting schools on those issues as well. So I think it's making sure you have the time to let people talk things through and not be too worried about keeping to a timescale.
Great, thanks. And if you are, when you do create that space for people to open up and you're confronted maybe with some issues that you weren't expecting to come up, sure, this is probably quite a common thing for when people really dive into diversity and inclusion issues. What advice would you give in that scenario? How should you respond there?
Okay, well, I think if you're very clear of what you want to achieve, and in our case, obviously, as a public organisation, we would always base on 2 things. First of all, we had consulted on our values as an organisation. Now, there can be cultural reasons sometimes where those need to be explored and how they're applied in reality. And that's what we were doing. And because everybody say, well, we want to respect everybody else, but then actually there may be things beyond their experience where they're not quite sure how that plays out. And again, confronting rights, if you like, between certain parental views that you might experience amongst a minority of parents and how you would actually deal with that in terms of what your own point of view is and what, if you like, to pardon and turn the phrase, the right answer is. So I think being very clear in your own values and being able to explore in a scenario-based way what that would look like depending on different situations is key. And secondly, obviously, is the law. There's, we fall back on the Equality Act, and one of the clear lines in the Ofsted criteria is that our board of trustees take action to ensure the Equality Act is firmly embedded. So I don't like to refer back necessarily to the Equality Act, other than the fact that it is there and a clear statement of what protected characteristics are, and therefore what we must follow. However, it's much stronger when it's actually driven through our own values and discussing how we'd apply those in different situations.
Great, thanks. And your achievements in diversity and inclusion led to you winning the inclusion category of the 2023 Culture Pioneer Awards. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank you very much.
In your very inspiring and heartwarming speech, when collecting the trophy, you said at the end, "This is for the kids." I'd just like to ask you to kind of expand on that and how your efforts have truly impacted the children in your schools.
ultimately, everything we have to do as an organisation has to impact positively on the students, and not just some, all. And so the values around an inclusive workplace culture are partly around teaching the children to help them lead in the future a more inclusive society, and helping our staff to help them to do that, while at the same time making sure our staff want to work with us and want to stay with us and grow with us as an organisation. So it's a twin thing, really. The staff will be in a better position to help the young people, and the young people will be in a better position to go out and be successful in society and contribute positively and significantly and knowledgeably in a diverse city or beyond, depending on, you know, whatever path they take. So it's a really firm commitment within that, and creating the workplace culture is intrinsically linked with the educational offer as well. So to us, it wasn't just a sideshow around trying to make staff feel happy so they want to teach the children. It was that, and it was about the culture that the staff are working in, but it's far too symbiotic a relationship with then the curriculum offer to the young people and what it is we want the young people to experience and what they then go on to be separate. So it comes through in things like Right to Respect in schools, which Joanne very kindly referred to, you know, when she was describing why we won the award. And I was delighted that that got mentioned, because that is very much something that crosses all aspects of school life, young people and staff working together on that. And it is something that we've really promoted as well as used to build up school improvement. And I think therefore it runs through the whole curriculum really. And it is obviously two very clear pieces of work: the experience of the students, the experience of the staff, but they are intrinsically linked.
And finally, what does it mean to be a culture pioneer to you?
I have to say it was a truly joyful moment for us as an organisation. It was a real statement of the importance of this work, and I think a real encouragement for us to continue with it. I would strongly advocate any organisation going through cultural change to put themselves forward for this. It's given a huge recognition to the work of many, many colleagues throughout the organisation and young people. And it's given a sense, it's just given everybody a real lift that the fact that the work has been recognised in this way. So we're delighted that we put ourselves forward for it, obviously, and I would recommend without any hesitation that it's really important to put yourself forward for this, to get involved with this, and also the opportunity to see how the work we do compares with organisations in other sectors as well. It's been a real benefit to us. So to us, it's been a huge lift, and I'd recommend it unreservedly.
Great, thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, I read your award. I was in the call with the judges, and it was truly inspiring. And
Thank
yeah,
you.
congratulations once again.
Thank
and yeah, entries are now open for the 2024 Culture Pioneer Awards. So for any organisations out there who are striving to create a better culture for their people, please do take a look at that. Entries close on the 21st of June. But yeah, thanks again, Peter. Really appreciate you sharing your experiences.
No, it's all my pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.